Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lunch with Lisa. I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing, and I am a coach who helps people to heal their bodies by shifting their consciousness. So today I thought we would talk about the shift of consciousness. We are, as humanity, we're being called to go within. Everything has shut down. Our world has come to a screeching halt in many ways. Obviously, some things are still up and running as relative business per usual. However, the majority of the world is currently shut down as we are being told to go in and protect ourselves from this virus, this attacking enemy. So this is not okay. This is not a way to live. As all of you can see, there's nothing about this that is okay. But from the larger perspective, this is exactly what we need. We as humanity have been operating in the programming of the third dimension for a very long time. We have been operating from unawareness. We have been operating from the unconscious programming of duality, of polarity, good and bad, right and wrong, all kinds of assumptions that are actually not working. Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining. Nice to see you today. Yes, it's time for shifting everything. So we as humanity have gotten ourselves into a bit of a pickle boat here because we have a whole bunch of beliefs that tell us that we're being attacked, that we have enemies. And we have been fighting wars with our enemies for eons of time, whether they're enemies in human form or enemies that we can't even see. And now this has come to a head. We are now faced with this global pandemic of being afraid of an enemy that we can't even see. All we can see are the effects. We can't see the enemy itself. So now as humanity, this is our wake-up call. This is the time of the shift of consciousness. And what does that mean? It means the earth is moving into a new bandwidth, a new frequency layer, a new layer of consciousness. Everything works differently in the higher realms of consciousness. Earth is designed as a 12-dimensional planet, and we have 12 dimensions that we can actually actively, consciously live in physically, in our physical reality here on this planet. We as humanity, we've been living in one dimension. We have been living in the third dimension. It is a dimension that is limited. It is a dimension that has darkness. It is a dimension that is distorted. It is out of proportion, and it is completely out of balance. It is out of alignment with universal truth. So we as humanity have been operating out of alignment with universal truth for a very long time. We have been operating from human-made rules, which are not in accordance with universal laws. So what is now happening is that we are being called in. We're being called to go inside. And the external metaphor of being made to stay home is the metaphor for us going within. Each and every one of us is being called to go inside, into our heart space, and reconnect to the soul, reconnect to universal wisdom, and stop operating from the programming of that rational mind. So we are being asked to move from fear into love. This virus that's going around is a fear virus. Everyone is afraid. This is what is actually being transmitted, is the fear. So when we go into fear of being attacked, the programming The fight or flight programming of that third dimension dictates that when we are feeling attacked and we're afraid, that the lungs respond to that fear. So can you see a correlation between what's going on consciousness-wise and what's going on with our physical bodies? So as we are living in these fear-based times, we are asked to move to the opposite, to love. When Anita Moorjani wrote her book, Dying to Be Me, she said when she died on that table and she saw the light, she suddenly realized everything is either fear or love. And she had been operating on the platform of fear that whole time. So when she came back into her body, she chose love. And her body healed itself, and now she is out talking to the world about love over fear. This is what is happening to us as the collective. We are being called to go back to love, to stop the fear-based programming, to stop buying into our fears. The fears are false evidence appearing real. And as long as we continue to feed the fears, we're just going to continue to feed the wars, the hatred, all of the things that are out of balance. So we're being called back inside to go within, and for each one of us to rebalance ourselves. And how do we do that? We do that by reconnecting to the soul. We start to notice different parts of ourselves. We start to notice energy. We start to notice that we have an energy body, that light body that surrounds the physical body that we can't see with our eyes. That light body is the structure of our soul. That is where we connect to the soul. We connect through the light body. We start paying attention to our energy. We start paying attention to the chakra system. We start cleaning out the energies that are stuck in our light body, the energies of fear and shame and blame and guilt and doubt and separation. We have to go inside and start facing these programs and start clearing them out. And as each one of us clears out our own programming, it starts clearing out that programming for the collective. As each one of us goes inside and faces our own darkness, we start to see that that darkness doesn't have any control over us. That when we turn on our light, the darkness goes away. So this is now, we're being called to make the shift of consciousness from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. And what does that look like? Well, the third dimension is based on fear. The fifth dimension and higher, everything is love. There is no fear in the higher dimensions. In the third dimension all takes place in the rational mind. It's all the programming of the mind. The higher dimensions are in the heart, without all of that programming. The third dimension, we're focused completely on the physical body. In the higher dimensions, we're focused on the light body and our energy structures, and we pay attention to the energy that's happening in our world. And we don't settle for fear and shame and blame and doubt and guilt and all of those low vibrational energies. We start clearing those out. In the third dimension is conditional. There is nothing that is unconditional in the third dimension. And you say, yeah, well, what about unconditional love? That exists in the higher dimensions. If you are in unconditional love, you're in the fifth dimension. We go in and out of dimensions all the time, but we don't do it consciously. Now is the time to become conscious and start noticing, what dimension are you working from? If you're in fear, blame, shame, guilt, doubt, that's the third dimension. That's the matrix. That's the programming. That's the stuff that we have to clear out. The love, the joy, the peace, the ease, the freedom, that is in the fifth dimension and beyond. That fourth dimension is a non-physical dimension in between the two, where thoughts and emotions lie, where the thoughts and emotions click together. This is an electromagnetic field of consciousness that we live in. Thoughts are electrical and emotions are magnetic. How we combine the two determines how our physical reality plays out. In the third dimension, everything is based on logic and assumption. In the fifth dimension and beyond, it's based on intuition and universal wisdom. We start following the guidance of the soul. We start to pay attention to what's in alignment and what's not. We start following our feelings. We start to follow that inner guidance. Inner guidance will never steer you wrong. Inner guidance says that if this feels good, if it feels right, if it feels expansive, then yes, that's a go. If it feels heavy, if it feels dark, if it feels constrictive or restrictive, it's a no. This is as simple as inner guidance is. But most of us as humans, pretty much all humans, do not follow that inner guidance. How many times have you said, oh, I knew that. I knew I shouldn't have done that, right? That was your inner guidance going, hey. Okay, it's time for us to go inside and start paying attention to our inner guidance. When we start paying attention to our inner guidance, and we start operating from a higher dimensional point of consciousness, our bodies respond, our DNA responds, the DNA starts rewriting itself, our bodies start healing themselves automatically, and we get out of that fear-based fight or flight programming. This is what is being called upon for each and every one of us, is to start going within so we can clear this fight or flight programming of the third dimension. The darkness exists in the third dimension. It doesn't exist in the fifth dimension. Scarcity, third dimension. Abundance, fifth dimension. Illusion is in the third dimension. Clarity is in the fifth dimension and beyond. So this is what's going on a mass scale. We live in an electromagnetic field of quantum consciousness. We are each our own individual consciousness in the quantum field of consciousness, but we are also each part of the human collective consciousness. And when we as an individual are operating unaware, we're simply operating from the human collective consciousness, and that human collective consciousness takes us for a ride. It takes us wherever it is going. Right now, it has gone right down the rabbit hole of fear. Have you been pulled down that rabbit hole of fear? This is an indication that you're operating from the human collective consciousness rather than from your own soul's consciousness, from your own inner guidance. So this time of the great going within, as I'm calling it, are you using your time wisely? Are you using your time to start to meditate, to connect inside? Are you going into your heart? Are you starting to notice all of the energies that are out of balance in your own personal life? What energies do you experience on a daily basis? Fear, shame, blame, guilt, doubt? These are not okay to live with anymore. We cannot continue to live with these energies in our space anymore. The earth is moving into the higher dimension. She has already entered the fifth dimension. This is why all of this stuff is playing out right now, because we cannot take our baggage. We cannot take these lower dimensional frequencies with us. They have to be cleared. And the only way that we can clear them is to start clearing them individually. So we each are responsible for our own well-being. And when we start to operate from our full consciousness, and we start paying attention to our light body, to our energy body, and we start to clear the energy from our aura, we start to get rid of all of the wobbles, and we start to have a clean, clear, balanced, and aligned energy field. The entire universe opens up to us. The entire universe. In the third dimension, it looks like the universe is out there somewhere. Like the whole great big ginormous universe is out there. In the higher dimensions, it's all inside. We access the entire universe from inside. We can't access universal consciousness from our third dimensional mind. We can't access it from the matrix. We have to go inside the heart. We have to open that heart wide open. The rational mind doesn't like that. It's scary. It's scary to let go of control. But that's just the rational mind. That's just the programming speaking. When we go inside in our own heart, we start to align with source, with love, with universal wisdom. And then that wisdom, that love, that light, that abundance starts flowing to us and through us. And it changes our entire reality. It changes our DNA. It changes the cellular structure of our bodies. Our bodies start to turn from carbon-based to crystalline-based, and then to plasma-based. Our DNA is being upgraded and changed all the time. And it can happen with us kicking and screaming and trying to hold on to our old reality and keep things exactly the way they've always been. And we see where that's gotten us. Or we can be brave and courageous, and we can go within. We can go inside our own heart, and we can connect with the love that we are. Because the love that we are is the universal love that is everywhere, but that doesn't exist as unconditional universal love in the matrix of the 3D. The 3D is not the chair and the couch and the car and the mountain. That's form. We're talking about a layer of consciousness. The third dimension is a layer of consciousness that is conditional and is based on duality and polarity and linearity. You're born, you live, you die. That's linear. When we move outside of that, we come into the now, and everything then becomes quantum. We have quantum realities. We have multiple realities, multiple layers of reality happening at the same time. We start to become aware in multiple places at one time. We can see multiple layers of things that are happening simultaneously. Inside the third dimension, we're looking at only what's right in front of our face. And what's right in front of our face is never what it appears to be. The third dimension is totally backwards from the way universal truth actually works. So this is the time that we're being called to shift dimensions, to shift the way we think, to shift from looking out there in the matrix, in the hologram, to turning it around and looking inside, looking within our own hearts, bringing our light bodies online, starting to pay attention to our energy, starting to ground our energy, balance our energy, stop accepting the lower energies. There's a point where we have to draw a line in the sand and say, no more. I will not accept my reality as being living in fear, living in disease, living in lack, living in limitation. We can't. This is not the way the universe is. This is an abundant, beautiful, amazing universe. Look at what's happening with our earth, this beautiful Mother Earth. Look at what's happening as we go inside and we leave her alone. Look at how she has cleared her skies. Look at how she's clearing her waters. Look at everything that she is doing to rejuvenate herself. And look how quickly it's happening. This can happen for us too. When we let the rational mind go and we leave it alone and we start operating from our heart and we start operating from being in alignment with universal wisdom, with universal laws, not the man-made laws that are designed by the 1% to keep everybody else down. This is not what we're talking about. We are talking about universal laws. The man-made laws that have been designed to keep everybody in the dark, everybody down, everybody in fear. This is what we're talking about, getting rid of these things. But we do that not by trying to overthrow anybody, by going within. As each one of us turns our own light back on, that light then lights up that part of the collective consciousness. By the time we get enough people with their own lights turned back on, enough of us living in these higher dimensions, we will hit that 100th monkey and boom, the lights will turn on for the rest of humanity. And everybody at one point will flip out of it. They'll wake up, right? They'll snap out of it. Like Cher said in the movie Moonstruck, snap out of it. It is time for everybody to snap out of it, to wake up, to see who you really are. Each and every one of us is a grand, amazing being of light and love. But when we're walking around with masks on, and gloves and staying in our homes, hiding from a microscopic organism, this is not the dignity of a grand being of light and love. It is time to take our power back. It is time to reclaim our dignity. Are you ready? Are you ready to make the shift of consciousness? It's not difficult, but it is a choice. And it has to be a conscious choice. So I'm putting it out on the table for you today. If you have not already made the choice, now is a really good time to do it because we're going through the mass awakening of the planet. So the more people wake up, the bigger the wave gets and the easier it is for everybody else to wake up. So when you start to wake up, your body will start to function from a different paradigm. Sickness and disease do not exist in the higher dimensions. It simply does not happen that way. We move out of the fight or flight programming. So are you ready to clear out that programming? Next week, I will be announcing my new course coming up to get rid of the programming, to help you shift from 3rd dimension to 5th dimension and clear out all of that programming, to activate your light body so you can start to notice your energy, so you can bring your own light body online and back into balance and clear it out of all the old programming stuff. This is where I'm feeling called now, is to show you guys how to activate and clear and align your light bodies so you can empower yourselves and start working from your own soul's wisdom, because that soul is the light body. The light body is your soul. When you start paying attention to your light body, you will start looking through the eyes of your soul. When you start looking through the eyes of your soul, everything changes. It gets so much easier, so much lighter, so much brighter. You start living in alignment with universal flow. Doesn't that sound a whole lot better than trying to go to the grocery store in a mask and stay 6 feet away from everybody else? Not go to your neighbors, not go hug people. No, we can't continue to live like this. This is not okay. This is not acceptable, but it is very, very necessary. It gives us each the time to go within. So please go within. Open your heart. Start noticing your energy. And if you need assistance, please reach out. I am here to help you. And like I say, next week I will be off. I will be announcing my course. And Tanya James, a good friend of mine, does some very powerful clearings. She was in the group the other day. We did a Facebook Live the other day. She does some very, very powerful clearings. I thought it would be a really nice thing if we did a little From Fear to Clear webinar series. We're going to do a workshop. So we'll be announcing that on Sunday. So that'll be coming up on April 22nd. So clear your calendar for a few hours of a good workshop where we're going to start walking you from fear to clear and doing some good clearings with you. So be ready for that too. All right. So for everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. If you've enjoyed this, please feel free to share it. If you're not part of my Facebook group, Soul Sourced Healing, please come and join us. We'd love to have you here. Hey, Connie, good to see you. And again, please, if you need assistance at this time, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling separated, if you're feeling scared, if you're in fear, if you're in doubt, please reach out. You don't need to be alone. You don't need to live in fear and doubt and separation. So please, 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 Michelle, good to see you. Okay. Everything is going to be okay. And just like every time the body has an illness or something wrong with it, when the body heals itself, it heals itself stronger. This is what's happening here with humanity. We are going to come out of this stronger as a more cohesive humanity, as a more enlightened humanity. We will be stronger for this. So please do not give up hope. Don't get sucked into the fear. Don't let the mass conscious programming get you down. Look to the future. See what you wish to create. We are creator beings and we create our own reality, but we can't create the reality that we want by looking at what we don't want, by focusing on the fear and focusing on the, oh my God, I'm being attacked by a microscopic organism. Okay, we can't live there. We have to focus on what we want, not on what we don't want. So please reach out if you need assistance. Join our Facebook group, Soul Sourced Healing, if you're not part of the group already. I wrote a book. If you're struggling with your body, my book is called The Simplicity of Self-Healing. It gives you it's a good primer. It gives some really good resources in there about how to start thinking about your body differently. So if you need help, please reach out. You can find me at lisa-warner.com. Go to my website, send me an email, send me a messenger. I'm here to help. All right, everybody, thanks so much. Till next week. Thanks for joining me. Create for yourselves a great week. Till next time. Bye-bye.